Our next speaker, who I just met recently at my home group and had the pleasure of listening to. I mean, just absolutely blew us away. So you're in for another treat. Please help me welcome Karen C.
Good morning. My name's Karen. I'm an alcoholic. You know, Robbie, if he's still in the room, I'm walking around with a box of Kleenex. I'm feeling some kind of way. Seriously. Wow. My name is Karen. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is September 6th, 1989. My sponsor is Michael Earl. My whole group is the Spiritual Awakenings group in Bernardsville. And I am extraordinarily privileged and pleased to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Robbie left off at the place where I kind of want to continue, and he's right. It wasn't a day for a drunk log or telling you what happened, but kind of like what it's like today. I was asked to talk about awakening. And I'm driving down to Long Beach Island this morning. I haven't been able to be here all summer, and I'm saying, well, this is an awakening. I feel like, a day workshop on LDI and shooting back off home, pretty interesting. Anyway, so I just have to catch my breath because Robbie just absolutely took my heart away this morning. I have some former sponsors that we were staying with last night, and Doris and I were having this phenomenal conversation about how long it took me to leave my abusive marriage. And I just didn't see it, couldn't see it, didn't know how to see it. And this morning in a Melanie Beatty reading, it talked about the blanket of denial. And if that had been stripped off of me, I was 12 years sober before I could face that situation. And if that had been stripped off of me too quickly, I probably would have died. So it happens when it happens, when we're faced with the truth. And thank God in the rooms of AA, we can face those truths. So anyway, he just really touched my soul this morning when I was sitting in the back where he told me not to sit in the back. So I just want you to consider this for one moment. I want you to consider that isn't the seeking of the hole in my soul really the seeking and the longing for God? Just when I think about how I came to you with the hole in the soul, not feeling like I belonged anywhere, that I was an absolute mistake, that all it really was this desire to fulfill with God, but I didn't know that. So this past year of my life has put me into another transition, or they call it when the shift hits the fan, those times. I'm in one of them. And as that shift was hitting the fan this summer, it needed to take on a new perspective, because that's how we learn. It's 2x4 therapy for us, no matter how much time you have. I fully can concede to you and tell you the truth that change is not readily welcomed at most times in my life. I find I'm resisting, and I had a personal stuff happen in towards the beginning of the summer, and I was really, really upset about something that a family member had done. And I'm talking to my sponsor, and she does one of these, You know what that comes next, don't you? So when and that next came some work, and she said to me, let me think about it. I think there's a direction in our book that says, first we must quit playing God. And then followed by that direction was an exercise I had to do to see where God manifested himself in my life. Or I manifested myself as God in my life for the next week. And I filled a notebook and was shocked. And then I called her on that next Friday, and we're talking. And I said, you know what I really come to realize? That I have a disease of the delusion of control. That somewhere, somehow, I think I could control everything about you, including why does that girl have that ugly haircut? Or something along those lines, that I had this opinion. So it put me back into the work in a whole different way. And I came across something really long time ago. I come from an upbringing, Catholic school, and all that influence of that consideration. Isn't the seeking And if I'm shifting and ignoring it because of the delusion of the control, isn't it really a seeking for God? So I started to think about the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and relationship to the foundation of my life and the foundation of the love in my life. And where is that love in my life? And what does that look like today? And now, Robbie ended with that, talking about the love that you find here. Well, what is that? What is that kind of love? And what does it awaken to you? I have awakened to 3 things as a result of the 12 steps. This entire gift of being aware. The opportunity to get the fact that we're spiritual beings in a human experience. And that there's a real plan for me. Granted, I can't define that plan. So instead of a GPS, we have a GS key. So we're working towards that. And I have awakened to this. And I'm like, when I stop in my tracks to consider where I have come and what it looks like today, it's totally different. So I wanted to share with you the awareness I came from doing an exercise my sponsor gave me about these gifts, the gift of powerlessness and the hope of Father's step 2 of resurrection. And I can actually have access to a new answer to that feeling of abandonment and betrayal that still seems to be down in there someplace. And making that decision to be free, making that decision in step 3 to be free. And what happened? How does that ego move around? How does that ego move around? How do I align myself with God's will for me? And what are the actions that I needed to take? And what is this about admitting where I've been at, especially from a podium, admitting where I'm at so that I can have those defects of character removed. When I can name the harmed, not the harms, the harmed. So I can name them and make those amends and then be present in the present moment. All of it, be totally all of it. With this conscious contact with God. And for me, what happened this summer has been an awareness that it's all about love. It's totally all about love. And I'll back up a little bit. I have 3 kids. And when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, my youngest daughter was 4.5. And she was she lived with me that I separated from her father. And we had a very rough relationship going forward. And fast forward 20 years and next getting married and she is just incorrigible, very difficult for me. And I'm like, all I wanted to do was make it right. I had to leave it. So I'm with that guy. I know that. I had to leave it. And I'm trying to make it right. And she's butt me all around. And it was not a good experience. And at the end, I'm thank God for you. It was like Robbie said, thank God to come to you and just sit there and work through it. Work through it. That means work through it. That means write it. That means share it. That means don't be embarrassed that you're off the beam on this issue. That means all of that. That means surrender it. And what came out of that was a phone call, because I do work with others, and a phone call, and it was this woman on the other side who asked me to describe to her how I would describe the spiritual malady. And of course, most of us could go page 52 and you can recite the bedevilments. But when I was speaking to her about how I would describe a spiritual malady to a newcomer, in the forms of I can't control my emotional nature, and I'm feeling incredibly lonely. I'm learning that is my daughter. Realizing that other people in and out of here suffer from that spiritual malady just like we do. And then she asked me the question that absolutely started to heal my heart. And that was, well, what worked for you? And that what worked for me was being loved where I was at, no matter what. No matter how bad I was, no matter how wicked I was, it was being loved where I was at. So that spiritual malady sometimes pops up in my soul, and I need the work on it. So this idea of looking at steps in the foundation of a life of love, relating it back to the steps is what I want to share with you today. So how does love manifest itself in step 1? For me, when I say that I admitted I'm powerless over alcohol and my life became unmanageable, I love the way Jill Hawk taught me how to ode the step in my words, not as a we, but as an I. It took on a whole nother meaning for me. So it's step one, love is humility. And the reason it's humility is because by this admission that I'm human, I can let God in. Because before that, if I look at my relationship with God, when I come and take back a situation, my relationship is I'm not letting anyone in because I think I know. So in step two, what does it look like? What does love look like? Well, how's it manifest itself in step two, where I come to believe that a power in myself is going to restore me to sanity? Well, love manifests itself in step two as faith. If I didn't have this belief that if I'm receiving love from my higher power, right, I won't regain sanity. So if I have the faith and the belief, and my higher could be you, could be my higher power, my understanding of today, or it could be any of it. But today is more of that. I think my love manifests itself in step two as faith. And when I was walking through this issue that I had in the beginning of the summer with a family member, I had to believe that I'd understand this soon. I had to believe that it'll work itself out. I had to believe that the abandonment that I felt that tapped into when my dad left me, when my husband left me, was just an area that once again needed to be healed. I had to believe that. And I had to believe it in a way that I could embrace it. The only thing I can embrace is love. I can embrace that. And that came to me through you, which is so awesome in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So it's step three, what does it look like? Because this process of working through it, this gift of powerlessness, this understanding that I can't manage it, and knowing that I need access to an answer and the decision that I'm going to go chase it, was where that brought me. So what is love in step three? I think love looks like surrender. And what is surrender like? Like I'm clueless. So if I give my will of my life over to the care of the God of my understanding, right? I move into a loving relationship with Him. And as I move into a loving relationship with Him, I move into a loving relationship with you. And I can open myself up to really look at what the problem is. And the problem is generally me and my perceptions of the problem. But until then, I can't do it. I am lost. So if step four is telling me make a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself, what does it look like? Well, here is where I found this relief. I found that when I began to look at my life in step four on this situation, that I did not allow myself to be loved. I could love you, but there is a block with allowing you in enough to love me. And that came when I was really looking at, what is this whole deal with for me? So love manifests itself in step four as honesty. It's only as honest as I can get. I don't know about you guys, but honesty has been a progression for me. It's kind of like that cloak of denial, that really a blanket of denial that I wore as a protection had to come off slowly. Same thing with honesty. I could only take it up as much as I could take that blanket off. It was the same kind of thing. So it's step four, this love is honesty. I look at my higher power and the love my higher power has for me through you, particularly through you. And I can get honest. I can relate in the language of the heart to what is really going on for me to you. So it really opens me up for more love. It's more of an opportunity to really see what is taking for me. Where is that resistance coming from? You know, Joe and Charlie talk about the instincts of life. You know, we're guided in our work to take a look at how your instincts being affected. But if if I'm in a loving spirit, I can do that. If I am not theirs, I'm blocked. I'm blocked. So step by, admitted to ourselves, to God, and to another human being. That third part of step five has always been the hardest thing for me to do. where does love manifest itself as I'm walking through step 5 and trying to tell you the truth about me in that moment? And I'd have to say it's in love takes on a characteristic of being responsible. That I agreed that I was going to do anything. I agreed that I was going to go to any length for recovery. I agreed to that. Am I really responsible to that? Have I really been accountable to that? And that third part of the 5th step makes it so. So, and when I do that, when I complete those 3 parts of step 5, when I am really with it and having the desire to share with a person that I trust, therefore love, is going to give me feedback that I need to hear as I get God's forgiveness. And that's where it starts first. I could totally get a new perspective about what was going on for me there. So, seems to me to be quite an act of love to be responsible and accountable. And that third part of the 5th step was probably one of the hardest things that I honestly had to deal with. So what happens with step 6? So step 6 in this issue, as I bring it up, my defects of character. And I like to call them defenses because wearing that blanket, that cloak of denial that protected me took so long to take off. I come from so much abuse in many, many ways that I consider the fact that, like Robbie said earlier, that I'm even alive and standing here to be nothing but a miracle and a grace of God. So the world we come from is powerful. So it's just choices of these defenses that we choose, but to recognize I'm using a defense instead of using the love of God, instead of using you to help me through the issue was a huge awareness for me. So what does that look like? Well, love is trust. I hear it a lot. Yeah, I trust her. I don't trust him. Oh, I can't trust him. And I'm like, am I trusting? Am I being trusting? So I trust that God's going to be present in my life. I briefed to that a little bit earlier. So can I trust you to help me remove that blanket a little bit more and inch it out so that I could see the defects of character interfering with my life, so I could really see them. Believe me, my brain knows them, but does my heart see them? I know when things could be done a little bit better. I know when I've taken a little sidetrack to a different kind of lip. I'm aware of it. But am I able to really want to desire to get it in my heart to see its impact? So, I don't know. Trust seems to be the thing that helps me there. The loving characteristic of trust. So step 7 tells me, well, love's in action. So I'm going to ask God to help me out here. I'm going to totally ask him in that prayer, God, take this, all of it. All of it, the good and bad. I don't know for you guys, but for me, when I first read that prayer, I looked at that and I said, oh, nobody, absolutely nobody wanted the bad of me. So I find it entirely amazing. The prayer says in our book, and the bad, that they want all of us. They want everything. God wants everything. All of you. Without judgment. Without anything else but just that. So bringing this inadequacy and abandonment issue up to step 8, where made a list of all persons I had harmed, holding on to those feelings, holding on to that attitude. Believe me, the people around me felt it because I withdrew. Robbie described it perfectly when he was going through his decision when he left his wife. I will remove myself. I will stop sharing. I'll do my duties, but you will feel me because I'm no longer able to participate. So naming the harmed and the people who are affected in today's recovery is really important because I check out. I simply check out. And I stop participating in my light. So step 8 to me, that love manifests itself as brotherhood. I need you. I need my sisters and my brothers in recovery. I need to be part of you. My relationships with the people in Alcoholics Anonymous is far different than the relationship I have with my family of chance, my work buddies. My relationship with my brotherhood and sisterhood in Alcoholics Anonymous has not only saved my life, but helped me to be who I am. So I like Robbie, although his enthusiasm was incredible. I've not quite that loud. I also carry a banner. Like, look, this is incredible here. The God of my understanding brings in light and love and light. It helps me to walk forward. So when I'm approaching a situation personally and I got to turn to my brotherhood and say, how do I speed up? How do I make this right? And in making it right, I'm free. In step 9 tells me I'm free. So when I make those amends, I'm free. I could just give you a quick story about that. So love is continuous. Love is outgoing. Love is participatory. Love is all of it. And this foundation that the steps have given me alongside an understanding of this agape love that alcoholics in is filling my soul to a place where I didn't know it could go. Who knew when you walked in here that you would feel so good? Who knew that doing all this work and being accountable to what you're doing would bring you to a place where smiling was contagious, right? Who knew that you'd be spending a beautiful Saturday morning, Liberty weekend, down at LBI with the beaches right over those houses, listening to a share on maybe something that I need to know? Who knew? Who knew, right? But it's like going to NA Light and doing this, naming the harm and feeling the brotherhood. I want to be going to NA Light. We need a loving relationship with God. Well, we also need for with each other. We need it. We thrive on it. The relationship with my higher power is awesome, but kind of like the third part of step 5, I need it with you. I need to be able to see you, to touch you, to talk to you, to fellowship with you. I need that. And the more I do it, the better I feel. My first reaction is always to check out. My first reaction is to not pull you. My first reaction is, I'm not showing up. That's my go-to alcoholic thinking that I don't believe ever goes away. I think we're just always in it. So the step 9, make it direct amends wherever possible. And that responsibility of showing up is all about communication. Who wants to do that? You know, there are some things that happen along the way that I did get in touch with really early that I was truly responsible for making an action of amends towards. And this is what. When I separated with Mr. Wonderful, call Mr. Otherwise. Separated Mr. Wonderful, one of the problems or challenges that I knew but didn't want to deal with were the red flags, and that was what would happen financially to me. I was convinced from years of being told I wouldn't be able to do anything, that I wouldn't be able to do anything. I was convinced that nothing else would come of this, that there was no other opportunity for me but to live this way. You know, when I come from a Catholic upbringing that says, what you make your bed, you stay in it, right, kind of thing. And who do I think I am, thinking it differently? That was my information. And little by little, y'all taught me that it didn't need to be that. So push comes to shove, and I find myself in a very bad place at the battered woman shelter, realizing that this is not a good idea to stay in this relationship. So I'd leave it, and I'd known I'd need to lead it quite a while, but I was afraid financially my life would blow up, and it did. In about 3 weeks, everything came tumbling down. I owed the IRS about $500,000. They took the house of cars. The kids and I had nowhere to live. I mean, it was just incredible. But I had you see. in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm in the middle of the wagon, and I have been in the middle of the wagon, and I sponsor people, and I'm sponsored, and I go to meetings, and I'm involved, and I show up, and I go to the same meetings, by the way, the same ones, not just, so they know you. And I show up, and people there, and Alcoholics Anonymous rally around me with angels, like, I didn't know. Anyway, so little by slowly it came out, but I had a huge responsibility to deal with the IRS, and it had kept going, and we kept up covering more and more and more and more. And the real amazing part of all of this, you guys, is I was in denial that there was a problem, but I knew there was one. I just didn't want to deal with it because that was inconvenient. They're thinking that I just don't want to face it. I don't want to struggle with it. So when I look at my side of that, what did I had done and how I set myself up, I didn't really want to deal with them. I knew something was going on, but I just didn't want to deal with it. And in not dealing with it, years later, I had to deal with it in a totally different way. But anyways, long story short, I made right that money. And we just finished making everything right, and all of it is coming back in a form of a refund. So it flips itself around. You make right the wrong, and it comes right over here because God makes this all possible. These events are really, really important to make right the wrong because you have no idea where you need to be on the path and what He needs you for. I don't know what He needs you for. So as long as I'm become aware in this, I could participate in my life and be willing to make those things right. Now, making those things right, I don't know how many things you might have left on your little list there. Some things are tough. But the more I walk through recovery, and the more I look at this needs to be done outdoor, I'm really afraid, and I go to my network, and I go to my sponsor, and we start looking at well, what if you don't do it? Kind of thing. Because I got a lot of stories about when I did do it, and I also had a lot when I didn't do it. So, we begin to share those stories, and that's why your stories are so important. It's like, well, he did it, I can do it. She didn't do it, I don't want that. That kind of, and I'm not kidding. If you're stuck there, and I guess I'm staying on this because somebody needs to hear this. If you're stuck there, I'll help you through it. Many people will. And I could only help through it once again. I have very loving sponsorship. Kick butt in the book sponsorship, by the way, but it's the most loving thing I have ever had in my entire life. Where I can call, or I can see, or we're face to face, and it's like, well, did you consider this? And I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. Right? But if we're not open for a new experience, just like the set-aside prayer tells us, I had mine. I don't want mine. That's what this awakening is all about. Being awakened to a new experience is that this new experience is going to be incredible. You tell me so. It's more than everything I thought it was, but where I was in this narrow thinking of my alcoholic, obsessive pit bull thinking, you're familiar with that? Pit bull thinking. Where it really set yourself up for just like an incredible, extraordinary adventure of the day and end up, cost. So when you get to step 10, you continue to take personal inventory. I think love presents itself in step 10 as participating in my life. When I'm participating in my life in every which way, where answering the phone when it rings, when I'm opening up the mail when it comes, when I look at that day and I say, hey, is there been anywhere where I've been fearful or avoiding, or, my big deal, or the real Achilles heel for me is being inconsiderate and abrupt. So I look at that every night. Was there any point in the day I was? When I start to participate in my life, in my actions in a way, I find that the day is better and tomorrow is even greater. I wake up in a really good mood. I find that I can manage what life throws at me without creating it. You know what I mean? I can show up at work. I don't know, you guys. My job is really nuts right now. I'm in health church, so you can only imagine. And I just keep looking at it, thinking, okay, well, I don't get it, but there's something in here, and there's something at this that someday I'll understand while I'm doing this job. But For right now, on a meltdown a couple months ago, on a truly meltdown day where I can't answer 300 emails a day, and I can't be in 4 appointments that are all over the state of New Jersey, and I can't be presenting over here and like manage my life. And I just absolutely thought for some reason, my brain, you know how our brain and ego takes over, says I can do that. So, I can't do that. So find a way to communicate. I find a way to communicate, hey, you know what, I need 24 hours to get back to you. And that's really okay. But we put ourselves a superstardom when we get sober, that we think we can manage things that I can't manage like that. So, thank God for sponsorship that says, what are you doing? Oh yeah, come back down to earth, right? So I start to participate in my life, and that 10-step list that we're given in our book really takes me back to center, where I can say, yeah, doing a little God role play today. What is it to be? Do I believe he's empathy or not? So draw the line and say, okay, no, I for this area, I'm handling it just fine. Well, that's not what we're asked here to do. We're asked to give everything. Everything. So when I'm locked up in that, I got to go find out why I'm resisting it. What's going on? Why am I pulling back? Why am I disappearing again? Why am I not out there? Why am I not with you? All of a sudden, money becomes an issue or something, right? And I start to focus on unemployment. Hello, where's God, He's been the salvation of all of that for me. I'm a good steward. It happens. He got everything I need, plus $1 usually. So it's step 11, solitude prayer and meditation. How does love manifest itself here? I think love manifests itself here as living. That I made a deal with you, God. I said, please, God, give me back my life, and I'll live it for you. How am I living that life? What does it look like? Am I a welcoming spirit? When I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was accused of trafficking like an ironing board. I was very offended. And I have no idea that my energy of stay away from me went to the door over there. And that this whole problem that I've had since I can remember, that I can love you, but I cannot let you in, chased me in here till you broke it down and said, you'll be all right. And no longer hug like an ironing board. Don't do that. But I did. And I came here fractured and broken. I have a really good women in AA, and she always says it, broken is beautiful. I'm involved in retreats, and one of our retreats out in Staten Island, we have a wonderful spiritual advisor. Sister Maureen's out there, and it was a horrific personality experience. The retreat was fabulous, but the personality of the teammates, the community, was awful. And I had told myself accountable for all this fighting. And I'm trying to level it out, because you know how it is. If you know that those two people are fighting over there, it couldn't affect everyone over here, you feel it. We're really good feelers. We had to be. You had to be able to test the ground. You had to know it was at the door. We had to know, because that sort of judged what we did next. So we all know that stuff. And I learned that communication is mostly nonverbal anyway. They're all looking at what you do and how you feel it, because we're touching each other. And I just walked back to her and I said, you know what, I quit. She said, you can't quit. Listen, watch me. I'll quit. I'm not doing this anymore. Because I walked in on a conversation, and their backs were to me, and it was all about me, and awful shout. And I'm like, you know what? Follow to your heart. This is all for free. We do this all for free. We show up for free. We do the work for free. It's not, instead, do it because you're driven to do it, whatever the motive might be. And it was just awful to hear what I thought my friends saying these things. I was really hurt. So I went back to her, and I'm talking to her, and she's going, Karen, broken is beautiful. If you weren't so broken, you couldn't help so many. Because you understand the brokenness of our hearts. Just like you guys do, or you wouldn't be here. We understand brokenness like no one else can. We can go to people in and out of these rooms and see that brokenness and just say, hey, how you doing? Doesn't necessarily mean a sick and suffering standing by the door. As Robbie said, it's just them, but it's everything. Living these principles and these steps and everything that we do, living them makes us such whole crusaders for God. Not only does it heal your brokenness, but it also helps to heal theirs. Giving a safe place for a person to come in your home, meaning your heart, meaning to come to you, giving one person a safe place to come could be the deal breaker for them. Could be the day that they change the can'ts into the cans. Could be the day that says, you know what, I'll give this a shot today. That's what Sister Maury told me that day. She said, you have choice. You're on a path and a journey that God gave you to help the broken. Isn't that what it's all about? So with this foundation of the steps and the principles and the concepts, not only that, but the love that I find in each one of them, we can move forward in a way and be effective in a way that no one else can. Because we come from that place that no one else can come understands but us. We were the lost and the forsaken and the what the heck's wrong with you? And why you drink like that? I don't know. That's all we could say is, I don't know. And that taking on all of those character defects of behaviors to protect yourself. And they're lists long. We've got lots of lists. We write them out all the time. We've got list after list after list after list. And what took me to the place where I could see those lists and acknowledge those lists and know that those are part of my past and they're not active today was love that you gave me. So I could stand here and say, oh my God, I don't feel like that today. I don't even look the same. We don't even look the same. I meet people about, do I know you? And they'll say, sure, you talk to them a little bit, you recognize their voice, but you are amazed because they've not only changed spiritually, but they're physically different. And that's the magic of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and living the life of love of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 11 tells me that love is living. So if love manifests itself as living every day, I can do that. I could benchmark my actions up to the 4 absolutes. I could take a look at that. Because not only as I work with you, I work with me, I'm suddenly in touch with the fact that Achilles' heel thing that's very hard, so my brain tells me, to be loved by you. Very, very hard. So then we bring us up to step 12, having had a spiritual awakening. You know, this step takes on so many different faces for me when I think about the powerful impact of step 12 in my life, personally, with my kids, with my family in choice, my family at Chance. I was just out visiting them. Oh my God. I can tell you that love was gratitude. I can tell you that the love manifesting itself in step 12 was all about gratitude. I am so grateful that I don't have to be this maniac, having to have my own way. I am so grateful I can see the pain in you, the confusion, that I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to do either, but I could say, hey, why don't you talk about it? I don't have the solution other than to love you where you're at and accept you who you are. That's the only thing I know how to do. I'm not here for judging you. I'm not here to criticize you. If you ask me a suggestion, I can say, well, this is what I did, because isn't that what we're supposed to do? What it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. What it's like today is if I share that with you and you share it with me, we're suddenly not where we were. And moving a little bit further to a place of wholeness. I can only be whole with God now alone. And I find God in you. So the whole powerful step, walking through the steps, my first time around was just walking through the steps. My first time around, it all seemed so rough. It all seemed so, actually, I thought it was really so stupid. But okay, here's my opinion. I had no idea it's a spiritual deal. So I get well physically. And then comes the spiritual break. And I had that second surrender that they talk about in Alcoholics Anonymous hit me so hard. That second surrender where I was just really well known playing God. I had done what I could do, and I hit a place in my life, and I was 12 years sober. And I used to be very embarrassed to talk about this, but I come to find out that most of us had this experience at some point or another. Don't know how many years you're here. What does matter is have you going there yet? Do you realize that it's only God who could save you? And God, what does that look like for you? My God is considerate. My God is the four absolutes. His will for me is that on that. God's will for me is not all the other stuff. So when I'm troubled and seemingly hopeless, you get a little banner going across your computer screen. Oh, I forgot about that. Or you get a fall because you're engaged. You made a commitment to remain engaged in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I could feel myself becoming a little bit more whole that day. And I could feel alive with the gifts and the Spirit. And I could feel alive that, oh my God, there is a plan for me. Now, branch you, I don't often know what that might look like. If I go into tomorrow, I'll shortchange it. I do know that. But if I stay somewhat around today, I guarantee you that it's probably going to be really fun. I have found my life in sobriety to be full of joy. And sometimes it's hilarious. Sometimes it's so funny. We sit on my porch. I have this really awesome little house. And there's 4 rocking chairs. Well, 2 of my dogs. There are 4 right now until she kicks 2 away. So there's 4 right now. We sit out there and we laugh and laugh. I can't even tell you how many footsteps have been heard on that porch. It feels such a spiritual place to sit. The healing that happens in our life. So relish it. Be with it. As we embrace things and walk it slowly, little by slowly, inch by inch by inch, you're going to be amazed as you participate in your life with love, that you actually will come to like. I have a girl living with me right now who, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I'm watching her shift. And I'm watching this awakening happen in her where it's all about God. I'm just watching it. And all our job is to give somebody a spot to do that. So it might be meeting somebody at a meeting. It might be, showing up for a weekend. It might be for a day. It might just be answering the phone. You don't know. Whatever it is, giving somebody a little bit of your hope is let them in. Letting them love you as you're trying to love them. And I didn't understand that exchange until I went to that place I went to. So, I hope you have a great rest of the day. That's all I got for right now. This is magnificent. And keep seeking. Thank you very much.